Hey there! Welcome to the GeoGesser 1000 subscribers Q&A video. I solicited questions from my viewers over the past couple of weeks as we approached 1,000 subs, and last night on stream we reached that milestone. So thank you to all of you who have stuck with me for the last year. It's been just a year and like a week and a half, 53.5 weeks since I started this channel, so that's pretty good, hitting 1,000. Thank you to anyone who joined recently. Thank you to my 1,000th subscriber for pushing me over the edge. And welcome, of course, if you are new. Thank you so much for sticking with me, and welcome back if you've been here a while. So here is the 1,000 subscribers Q&A spectacular. I got a really interesting variety of questions. Some of them were more personal to me. Some of them were more about my channel or YouTubing in general. So this is going to be a little bit off the cuff. Some of them I'm very sorry to say I may not have very good answers for. And some of them I might ramble on for a while because that's what I do. So I'm just going to go in the order in which they were received, starting with a very appropriate first question from my fan Sean, who asks, have you ever thought you would reach this milestone? And the truth is yes. Maybe it was a little arrogant, but I was like, I can totally do that. I can totally get to 1,000. Admittedly, it took a little longer than I had hoped. I got to 500 last July, so I was like, well, if I could get to 500 in 3 months, surely I can get to 1,000, in the next 3 months. But, they've got that initial bump, and then you've got little, plateaus, and then it really plateaued for a while. And then just in the last few weeks, it finally looked like it was within reach. And here we are. I did have a pretty successful YouTube channel in the past. So I knew it was possible, and seeing the success of some of my fellow puzzle solvers channels, I thought, hey, let me hop onto that train. So here we are. But that, of course, doesn't make it any less of a thrill to get here finally, especially because it did start to feel a little bit out of reach. I am looking forward to monetizing. I mean, I don't do it for the money or I wouldn't have stuck with it this long, but honestly, I do put a lot of time and a lot of myself into this channel, so seeing a little reward for that hard work would be nice. But yeah. All right, and I got 3 questions from viewer Bilal, who is a common, makes many appearances in the comments of my videos. And his first question is, what is your favorite game? And I don't quite know how to answer that because I don't really have favorite things, but also I don't know what you mean by game. So I'll just go through a few. I don't really play, I'm not like a gamer. Maybe I used to be, but I don't play like the newer video games that those kids are playing. I mean, I got teenagers, they play games. I watch them play stuff and I'm just like, I don't even know what's going on. I actually get motion sickness watching a lot of these games. So I can't play Minecraft. I can't play Fortnite for that reason. Not because I don't like them, just because I literally get motion sickness. I do play a lot of casual games on my phone. The one I stuck with the longest was Candy Crush, but I haven't played that one in a while. More recently, I've been playing Royal Match, which I find to be better than Candy Crush. And I don't know, it caught my attention. I also like, a lot of times I'll play a game really intensely for a few weeks and then I'll just stop. So I go, and sometimes I'll come back to it. So sometimes I'll cycle back to a game and sometimes I won't. And then as far as like the puzzle games that I play, I don't know. I really like Symbol. I really like Wordle Peaks. I really like Exordal and Wormel and Fibble. I wouldn't say any of them is like more of a favorite than the others, but I would say that I do like these sort of straightforward, guess a 5-letter word type games. I find them engaging. I find them replayable, and I do like word games in general. I often play like the New York Times Spelling Bee as well. So it's definitely something that I enjoy in general. Bilal's next question, completely different, is what is my favorite childhood memory with Ranks? Ranks, if you don't know, is my brother, and his channel is a lot more successful than mine. He and I mean, he's my only brother, I'm his only sister. And I actually had a little trouble with this one because we got along fine as kids, but I wouldn't say that we like got into stuff together. We certainly, neither of us got into any kind of mischief. We didn't really do a lot of stuff together. But there is a story I enjoy telling, at the risk of maybe embarrassing him a little bit. When I was 7, almost 8, and he was 4, almost 5, I think. That sounds right. Our family took a road trip across country from San Diego to Philadelphia and made quite a few stops along the way. We ended up taking 10 days to get there, to see parts of the US, that we hadn't seen. It was a really good experience, except for I got horribly sick. I was very car sick most of the way, so that was unfortunate. But we still got to see a lot of interesting places and do some fun stuff. So we each had a camera, and this is back in the day when you had your 35 millimeter film rolls. And actually, if you remember the kids cameras that didn't even have, they had those, I forget what they were, those small cartridges that were like kind of a weird shape, and they put those into the camera. Anyway, you had a limited number of pictures you could take. Imagine that. So we were at the Grand Canyon. Oh, so Rank's camera, he had objectively the best camera that there ever was made. And it was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles camera that left a little Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle watermark on every photo that you took. So objectively the best camera ever made. And we were at the Grand Canyon, and we were taking photos because it's amazing, right? And I ran out of film, and I wanted to take more pictures. And Ranks had pictures left on his roll, so I was like, hey, can you take a picture of the landscape? Because and he said, oh sure. Where's the landscape? So that's one of our family stories. But that trip in general was a really, really great because we got to see so much of the country, and it's something worth doing in general. Road trips are, I think, in some way somewhat of a uniquely American experience, but not necessarily. But it is definitely, we have this huge country and there's so much to see in so many different places, and it's really cool to get to experience so much of what there is out there. And finally, Bilal asks, where have you traveled to in the world? And that's a bit of an easier question. I've been to many places in the United States. So I'll start there. As I said, we drove across country, so we went kind of the southern-ish route. So as far as states I've been to, I would say California, Nevada. I think we hit Utah. Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Tennessee and Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, New York. And then I also, at one point, did a road trip with my ex-husband to Miami from Philadelphia. So we went through North and South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida as well. I've actually been to Florida twice. I have not been to New England at all. It is somewhat of a gap in my resume. Oh, I've been to Colorado, of course, and Michigan when I was little. I think that's all. I haven't been to Alaska or Hawaii. Alaska is very much on my bucket list. And I haven't been to Oregon or Washington or Idaho or a lot of the Midwestern states. So it's a little bit, again, a bit of a gap, but I've been to quite a few places in the United States. I have not been to Mexico, despite living in Southern California for a very large chunk of my life. So that's a little bit strange. I have been to Canada. I've been to Toronto. And I think when I was little, that same trip to Michigan, I had great-grandparents in Detroit, and we went to visit them when I was like 5. And I'm pretty sure we drove across to Canada during that trip, but I only vaguely remember it. I think I remember that we went, not so much, what it was like. And then as far as more international travel than that, when I was in high school, I went on an exchange trip to Austria. and I stayed in Austria for 2 weeks with a host family. While there, we also took a day trip into Hungary, so I count that. On the way there, we had a layover in London, and the layover was long enough that we ended up actually going into the city, not just staying in Heathrow. So I've been to London for an hour or two. We went to Westminster Abbey. It was pretty cool. And then as an adult, I went to Israel 4 times. And on the way to Israel, once we did a layover, an intentional 24-hour layover in the Netherlands. So we spent a day there with some friends. So that was pretty cool. So that's about it for international travel. I have Australia very much on my bucket list and Scandinavia as well. I really want to go to Denmark and Norway. I don't know why, I just do. Haven't been anywhere in Africa, haven't been anywhere in South America or even Central America, haven't been to the Caribbean. Not much of a world traveler, but I've been a couple places. All right. So next question, switching topics, is from Casey. And Casey says, what advice would you give someone who might consider streaming and they are concerned about the worst days, whether it's a map that's tough in GeoGuessr or just a bad day in general? And what I would say to Casey is, what I have found, first of all, you're worse at everything when you're streaming. So you might think, hey, I'm really good at this game, and then you start streaming and your brain just doesn't function. So you have to give yourself a little bit of grace for that. And the reason for that is you're trying to do more things, right? You're paying attention to your chat, you're making sure your camera and your mic, and you're aware that people are watching you. And when people are watching you, that always can make you nervous. And so that can affect your performance. So I would say the first thing is to give yourself some grace. Be aware that even though you might be an absolute beast at Wordle when no one's watching, as soon as you turn on that camera, everything gets harder. Or GeoGuessr or whatever you might be doing. An example is, I don't know if you've ever maybe been doing like a Zoom call and done a screen share and, somebody's telling you to do something like, I don't know, in Excel or something that you've done a million times on your computer and suddenly you can't remember what to do. Like, wait, where do I find this thing? Or how do I usually do this? Because you're aware that you're being watched. So even if it's something that, you feel pretty confident about, going in knowing that it's just human nature to, when there's more pressure or there's more input or more distractions, things are going to be harder. So you can give yourself a break for that. And I think the other thing is to know that the audience, the people that are watching, they don't want you to fail. They want you to win, right? They want to help you. And the idea with streaming, in my opinion, is to have that interaction and have that input from the people who are watching. And so sort of knowing that people are going to be forgiving and that if you make it funny and you are a little bit maybe self-deprecating about it or, make a joke of it or just be like, oh my God, I have no idea, somebody help me. People are going to like that. People are going to engage with you and enjoy helping you out. Besides, it makes them feel smart, right? So I guess it boils down to you can't really be self-conscious when you're making videos or when you're streaming, because you really can't control how other people perceive you, but you should know that you're much harder on yourself than anyone else is on you, if that makes sense. And now for my patron, Explorer tier patron, Shalaz, we have why a geography channel? And the answer is, I really don't know. It sort of just happened. I got to really enjoy playing GeoGuessr, especially watching my brother's streams and participating in those. And I was like, hey, I'm okay at this. I could get better at it. And then I was like, wouldn't it be fun to do a YouTube channel where I play GeoGuessr? And then I came up with this amazing channel name. So I decided to do it. I've never specialized in geography. I've always been interested in history, and I've always been pretty good at geography in the sense of I know where things are. Like if somebody asks me where Iran is, I can tell them it's in Asia, for example, which apparently is not as common as one might hope in terms of what people know. But I have always been a person that likes knowing how things are connected, and I like knowing a lot, I guess, a little bit about a lot of things. I like knowing a lot of things, a lot of random things, things that are from all sorts of different disciplines. And geography as a discipline is really that, right? It's not just political borders and features, that's a mountain, that's an ocean, but it's also how that environment affects the way people behave, and how the way people behave affects the environment. So it's everything. It's anthropology and sociology, it's history, it's politics, it's religion, it's language. I'm also really interested in languages, which has a geographical element to it as well. So it kind of all came together into this sort of overarching geography channel where I play word games. But I do try to inject geography content, or try to make it an excuse for it being geography content when I can, because I do feel like a channel needs some kind of a cohesive theme. And Shalaz also asks what I think are the cutest animal on each continent. And I decided to pick one for each continent. And let me tell you, that was not easy, because some of these continents have lots of very cute animals, but I had to pick one. So, starting with North America, because that's where I live, I decided on the sea otter that is native to the Pacific coast. You can see them at the Monterey Bay Aquarium frolicking. I know that sea otters look cuter than they behave. They can be pretty vicious, but I mean, come on, that face. For South America, it was a much easier choice. The obvious, most cutest animal in South America is the capybara, because capybaras are awesome. And I would like to pet one, please. Europe was tough. Europe has lots of rodents and bats and foxes are super cute. And I like most rodents. But I decided to go with the polar bear, which might be cheating a little bit because it's certainly not only native to Europe, but you can definitely find it like in the northern reaches of Scandinavia. So I figured it would count. For Asia, the red panda. Another tough choice because there are many cute animals in Asia. But again, had to pick one. So, red panda. Just a little face again. I mean, For Africa, it's obviously the fennec fox. I mean, those ears. But I have to say that I really love giraffes. I wouldn't say they're the cutest animal in Africa, but they are one of my favorites. I just think they're really cute and funny. Australia has arguably the cutest animal in the entire world, and that's the quokka. So that was pretty easy. And then for Antarctica, the penguin, because penguins are amazing and they're really funny. And I didn't pick a specific species of penguin because I am not a biologist. But I do like penguins. I think they're pretty funny. So that covers that list. If you have opinions on the matter, you can bring it. But remember that this was picking one. Just one. So. All right, then Cable Wire asks, if you could move to any place in the world, where would it be? And honestly, I can't answer that. I like where I live. And I was thinking it through, and I was like, it really depends on the variables. Like, if I were only by myself, I had only myself to answer to, I didn't have children, I didn't have obligations, money was no object, I might look to go live somewhere in Europe. But because life is more complicated than that, I would think that living in another country would be really difficult in terms of, having relationship with my family, having my kids having relationships with my family. Of course, my brain starts to go to the logistics of the actual move, which may not be part of this question. But honestly, where I live now, in the Los Angeles area, is my favorite place I've ever lived. I feel happiest here, like happier than any other place that I've lived. So, except for the high cost of living, I think it's pretty great. So I don't know if maybe that's a letdown because that's not a great answer, but I think being content with what you have is not necessarily a bad thing, right? And I don't really know what it's like to live anywhere else because I've lived in California and I've lived in Philadelphia, and that's about it. Then Ball25 says, have you ever failed a Wordle? And that answer is an unfortunate yes. I believe I failed twice on camera. There's a plane going by. You can see those videos. They were very disappointing. I fell victim to Perror, which I know a lot of people did, and then I lost. I think I just played my 58th game after my most recent loss yesterday. So whatever it was, 58 days ago. Tadpole, who is my son, asks what's my favorite color, and it's blue. Brawler's Fist asks what my favorite cake flavor is, and that's easy. It's red velvet, but it has to be with the cream cheese frosting. A proper red velvet cake. And finally, Worm asks, any games coming out or already out that I look forward to playing? And as I mentioned before, I'm not really that much of a gamer, and I don't really pay attention to games that are coming out. So I guess the answer to that is no, which might be a little bit disappointing. I do enjoy trying like new casual games, new variants of, word games and things like that. So those are fun. But yeah, I wouldn't say there's a particular game I'm looking forward to. I mean, we have a PlayStation and an Xbox, but it's mostly for the kids, and I don't really use them. Not because I'm anti-gaming or anything, just because it's just not something I generally spend my time on. We all have priorities. I have nothing against gaming at all. In fact, I kind of wish I could play some of the games, but like I said, they give me motion sickness, so it's unfortunate. So yeah, that was the last question I had. Thank you everyone for being here. And here's to the next 9,000. I guess the next milestone is 10,000. By the way, if you would like to help me get to that monetization goal, I need not just 1,000 subscribers, but I need 4,000 watch hours in the last year. So watching my longer form content really helps me out. I know that a lot of my viewers mostly just see me in their shorts feed and they don't watch the longer stuff. So that would be super helpful, even if you just put it on as background noise. I won't be offended. I have some recent videos. I did an explainer video about Passover, which is wrapping up this week. I do weekly videos on Saturdays where I do 5 or 6 word games usually. And those are usually 20 minutes to half an hour. And then sometimes my daily videos are not shorts, so even watching those can be helpful, but 4,000 hours is a lot. I'm at not even at 2,000 yet, so just putting that out there. Also, I'm going to try to stream more, so look for streams, join in on those. Love to have you, and stay well.